Hey guys, Kurt from Time Machine Transport. Just at the shop late tonight, and I wanted to do a video on the Kingpins slash tie rod assembly. So, don't mind my hillbilly alignment system, but I had an idea. So what I did was I made a mistake. When I took out the old tie rod assembly, my neighbor collects metal, so I just I gave it to him, and he already took it to the recycle place. So what I should have did was I should have taken the new one and taken the old one and lined it up and took a measurement off of it. But being that I was a general contractor for years, I had 4 levels and a bunch of these clamps. So it made sense to me how I could get it as close as possible to alignment. I'm still going to get an alignment, but I'm going to actually, once the truck's done, I'm going to take the truck and my trailer empty, and I'm going to get a trailer and truck alignment together at the TA. So, but I don't want to be shaking like Michael J. Fox going down the road. So what I did was, so that lube plate that I epoxied turned out perfect. It worked out perfect. So if I still have this truck and I need to do Kingpins later on, it shouldn't be that difficult because the Kingpin kit comes with new grease plates and new grease fittings. So all you have to do is just pop this out, and then I'll just grind down the threads again and install it the same way. Now this grease plate underneath here, if you can see that, yep, that one went in fine, that one did not. This top one went in okay, but the bottom one underneath, I cannot get that thing threaded in, so I'm going to have to do the exact same thing that I did over on the other side. So I got the shock in on this side, and my ABS line, I had a bunch of this stuff laying around the shop, this wire protector. So I just reran it and connected it to the old one. It was pretty gnarly. So now's the perfect time to do that. And then when I did the passenger side for the ABS sensor, I did this side as well. And I have a bunch of the stuff underneath there. But there was a broken line. The wires were chafed and broken, so I just did a splice in there and covered it all back up. So this is the perfect time to do this kind of stuff if you have it around your shop, or now's the time to do it to protect your any kind of wire if it's going to be in an area that might get rubbed on or gets a lot of heat or whatever. But anyways, so let's get to the point of the video. So what I did was I took 4 levels, and your hub is pretty plumb, I would assume, especially with new Kingpins in. I know there's like camber and casters, which makes the wheel go like this, I guess, but I don't know anything about that. Like I said, I'm not a mechanic. I just try to figure stuff out. So what I did was I don't know if it's common sense, but as a contractor, you always measure, like if I'm doing an opening, I would do one side and then do the other, and then top and then bottom or whatever, left and right, top and bottom. So it kind of made sense with doing it with the truck. So what I did was I took my boards and I went in line with the axle, so I could actually get a tape underneath the truck, a tape measure. And then I rode them off the ground just a little bit. And then what I did was I took one of my clamps and went to the face of the hub, and then another one and in line with the studs. So it's pretty straight and it's plumb this way. And then they're level. I don't know, I mean, they're not touching the ground, so they are level. I don't know if you can see that level in there. And then on this side, I did the exact same thing. Again, it's level. Clamp it to the hub and then clamp it to the stud, so that way the level can't move this way and it can't move that way. And then what I did was I set up my 2 chair creepers, one on that side and one on this side. And well, actually, I'll tell you what I did first. So let me grab a tape measure. Now, seeing that the driver's side, the tie rod assembly is not connected from this wheel to the other wheel. This wheel moves independently. The driver's side moves independently from the passenger side. So don't go up in the truck and do it. Set up a ladder. Don't get in. If you do it this way, I'm going to see if it works. I'm going to do a final video on it and see how it actually worked when it's going down the road. I think it's going to work. It's hillbilly-ish, I understand, but I think it's the same concept of getting an alignment, kind of, sort of. Anyways, what I did, so now I did the front and the back, obviously. So I took 2 measurements. I went from this side, from this level, all the way to the other back level on the passenger side, and then from this level, all the way to the front of the passenger side. And I got an exact measurement. It wasn't exact at first. I was off about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch. So I'll show you where we're at. So after you set up your hillbilly levels, like I said, you have to make sure that your boards are in place. Now I'm going to go from, if you can see the level underneath there, I'm going to go to the front of the level on this side, the front of the level to the front of that level, and then the front of that level to the front of the other level. So let me see if, I'm gonna have to put you guys on pause for a second. Okay, so you can see my tape is at about 90 15/16, or 91 shy, all right? Now that's on the back, so that's from the back level to the other back level on that side. I'm gonna pause you guys again. All right, now we're at the front level, and I went from that level to this level, and it's about the same, about 90 15/16, or just about 91. So I'm dead nuts. Dead nuts. Now don't, if you do it this way, like I said, I don't know if this is correct, but it just makes sense to me. Now, after I got, and if it's off, so say for instance you're on the front level, I'm here for a second. If you're off on the front level, say at first I was like 91 1/4-ish on the front, and I was 90 or 91 1/4, and I was like 89 or 90 3/4 or something. So I just went up in the truck, but don't go in the truck itself, because then your truck's going to start moving and you're going to knock your levels off. So grab a ladder and turn your steering wheel just slightly, left or right, whatever you may have to make your corrections, because when you turn that wheel, it either goes this way or it goes that way. But that wheel on the passenger side, that stays stationary because obviously the tie rod assembly is not in there. So this would be the only wheel that will move. So if you're off on one side or the other, just turn your wheel, and that's going to close the difference. And get an exact measurement from the front, from the driver's side to the passenger side from the front, and then driver's side to the passenger side in the back, or vice versa, passenger to the driver's side, doesn't matter. So that's how I got that, because I needed to get I know I say obviously a lot, so I apologize, but the tie rod assembly doesn't come pre-adjusted for any trucks. These tie rod ends spin freely, so they were all the way in. So this thread was all the way inside, so there was only like 1 or 2 threads showing. Now, one of my videos, because I've already purchased this tie rod assembly one time, but one of the turd mechanics we hired, Christopher Edgerton, another huge turd, I said he didn't even change the tube because he did the passenger side and the driver's side tie rod didn't come out anyways. I was in a jam. Freightliner didn't have the parts, so I had to just buy a tie rod end. Anyways, if this tube is old and you're trying to do just a tie rod, oh man, good luck. I used this big ass pipe wrench right here to get that thing in. And when I went for a wheel alignment, the guy's like, man, I only was off just a little bit. So he tried to get it as hard, as much more as he could. He's like, I don't know. He said, what did you put that thing in with? I said, a pipe wrench. He's like, oh my God. He's like, dude, why didn't you just buy the whole assembly thing? So I told him the story. He's like, oh, okay. So anyways, I recommend that you guys never do just one tie rod. If one tie rod goes bad, they're probably both about the same, especially if you buy them together. Anyways, I lubed them up beforehand. Oh, another thing. So my brother Stevie K, hi Stevie. Hey, say a prayer for my brother Stevie if you guys are God-fearing people. His mother passed away. And so I've been saying a prayer for him for the last week and a half about his mother. And she's finally in God's hands now. So anyways, my brother Stevie works for Snap-on. He gave me this Lincoln grease gun. I never thought I was going to need a grease gun. I was like, what's the big deal? Battery operated grease gun or a regular hand pump grease gun? Oh my God. If you own a truck, you need to have a battery powered grease gun and have a case of the Mystic high temp grease, because these things are worth their weight in gold. I would never, ever, ever use another manual grease gun again. Anyways, little plug to my brother Stevie. So anyways, so I already lubed it up. Another thing I had to do was, oh shit. Actually, let's get back to the tie rod assembly. I know I jump around, I apologize. So, let me squeeze by here. Now what I did was I took 2 creeper chairs and I took my tape measure and I went center on the hole. I went center on the hole there. Been a long day. And I set up another creeper chair here and I went center. You guys can't see that, but center on this hole where the tie rod assembly goes in, to the center of that hole over there where the other end of the tape measure is, was 66 3/4 center to center. I don't know if that's exact, but it's pretty damn close. So like I said, that's why I did the level and the hillbilly alignment first, because I wanted to get my proper center to here to center on the other side, so I could take my tie rod assembly. So like I said, center to that hole, center to this hole where your tie rod assembly goes into. And then I had to turn these ball joints out. I had to twist them out. They turn very easy when they're brand new. This one here was all the way inside as well. So I had to twist it out that far. And then what I did was, so my measurement over there on the creeper chairs is 66 3/4, I think I said. So what I did was I measured from the edge here to the center of the hole was 3/8 of an inch. And then center to this hole to the edge is 3/8, because obviously, well not obviously, but it should be identical. So adding 3/8 and 3/8 is 3/4 of an inch. Now I did that so instead of having to, because I'm doing it by myself, and if I'm trying to put my tape measure, trying to get it exact on that hole, there's nothing to grab onto. So I just added a 3/4 of an inch to my measurement, so I could take my tape measure and hook it right on the end. And then walk over here, and it was 67.5. Now if I go to my center, or close to it, it's 66 3/4. So that's the easier way to do it. Instead of trying to balance your tape measure on that little hole and getting a guesstimate, just add from this center to this edge, this center to this edge, and then you'll get your center to center. Now when you tighten these down, make sure that this little edge here is tight up against the tube. and then tighten it all down. Also, balance it on a flat surface. So I was lucky enough I had these two stands that I have. So, because on the bottom, the grease fitting is it's gonna impede you to put it on a flat surface because it's gonna be wobbly. So get something you can stick that down into, so you have nice and flat surface. So when you tighten this clamp down and this clamp down, it's pretty straight. You know what I'm saying? Like this ball joint it should be almost the same as that ball joint. Now, what I'm gonna do next is take down everything, because I'm center now and my measurement's good. So now all I have to do is install my tie rod assembly, tighten it all down, and then I already lubed it all up. I just can't get my grease gun on that fit in there, so once I turn the tires, I'll be able to get to that grease fit in there. Another thing I had to do, it's only money, right? What do I say? It's tit, right? This is trucking. So, grab this rag. This is a drag link. I won't even pick it up. Pretty gnarly. So the drag link that goes from your gearbox, so right down there on the bottom where that nut is, see to the right, that rod right there, that steel, I guess that's called a drag link right here, that goes to your axle, or to your steering assembly or whatever. I dropped it. I didn't need to drop it, but I thought I needed to drop it, so I took the clean my lens. I took the sledge and I took out the cotter pin, loosened up the nut, and I sledged it out. So when I went to go put everything back, the rod right here, so this is similar, this just kept spinning. Now, if it were Christopher Edgerton, he would have put it back on and he would have just put it all back together. So the drag link is bad. And maybe I was getting a popping noise when I was turning my truck. I knew it was the Kingpins, and I knew I needed shocks and everything else. So I had to go and get a new drag link. That one's the garbage one, obviously, because that's what I always say, obviously. So lubed it up already and put it in. Now, this part, the drag link, was $223, my cost from Freightliner. They do not sell those ends separately. And I wouldn't advise, even if they did, I wouldn't advise you do that, because it's kind of like doing a new ball joint into an existing tube assembly. It's a pain in the ass, man. I mean, it's crazy. So anyway, so that's how I got the center to center. And I'm hoping that I'm correct. And like I said, I am gonna get an alignment, but I just don't want to have to be shaking, like I said, like Michael J. Fox, when I'm taking it over to the TA to get an alignment. So now the only thing I have to do is I have to put the other grease fitting, or the other grease plate with the fitting on the bottom of the housing where the Kingpin is, and I have to epoxy that one as well. I'll do that before I leave tonight so I can set up for a few days. It says it sets in 5 minutes, but you don't. If you ever have to do something like this, like I said, I'm not worried. If I have to do Kingpins again, I'll just pop that right off and grind it down on the grinding wheel and put it back in the way I did. It's better than having to buy this whole housing, because I'm sure it's expensive. So if you ever have to do that, don't, if it says 15 minutes set time or whatever, there's a set time and there's a cure time. Do not put this in and then try to force a heavy amount of PSI pressure through there with your grease gun, because you're going to pop that right off. Wait a day or two for it. Don't, be smart about it, right? So anyway, so that's pretty much it. So now I'm going to put you guys on pause. I'm going to go ahead and take this hillbilly alignment system down. It just seems right to me. I don't know if it is or not, but we'll see. Like I said, I'll do a final video when I'm driving the truck and see how it runs. So I'm going to take down the hillbilly alignment system, pull the tape measure, get everything pulled away, and then I'm going to go ahead and install the tie rod assembly, and I'll come back to you guys. If I cancel out, then I'll do another video, but this is part 6 of 8 videos, and then obviously I have to do 7 and 8, and that's going to be basically just finishing up everything, and then I'm going to do a part 8 on how the truck's running. So I'm going to put you guys on pause. All right, guys, I'm back. Went in perfectly, absolutely perfectly. Didn't struggle at all. Thank God. Both sides went in perfect. Didn't have to jimmy it or anything. Oh, another thing, when you tighten these things on, make sure that they're you know, I would do them front to back or whatever, so you're not trying, you know, so I don't know. I'm goofy like that. So, but yeah, it went in absolutely perfect. There was not what, it didn't move it. I didn't have to move it or anything. So I think the hillbilly alignment system worked, but it worked perfectly, absolutely perfectly. Didn't have to move anything. So I'm pretty pleased with it. I got to tighten it all down, put the cotter pins in, and then I have to clean up that grease plate on the other side and get that epoxy before I leave tonight. Anyways, I think that was all I wanted to show you guys. Yeah. I'll tell you one thing, Kingpins are not that easy, so anybody who says that they're easy, I beg to differ. But anyways, would I do it again? Absolutely, because now I know what I'm doing, and that's why we have, probably $50,000 in tools, and I'm not kidding you. I mean, with welder and toolbox and stands and jack stands, snap on this, snap on that, blah, blah, blah. Compressor, all this stuff, hose reels, torch cutter, I mean everything, man. So anyways, I would definitely do it again, because I know what I'm doing now, and that's part of the whole reason why we got shop tools and we bought all this stuff. So anyways, I'm very pleased the way, well, I'm pleased now. I wasn't very pleased when I was doing it, but I got to paint all the rims. All my paint's peeling off my rims, and I got to clean up those toolboxes we just had sandblasted. I'm gonna be home for the rest of the week and maybe a couple days in the next week. So anyways, I just like sharing with you guys what's going on, and hopefully if you guys got some information out of it, I really appreciate you guys watching. And my wife and I, Mr. Clyde, hope you guys are all doing well, that this video finds you well, and please like and subscribe to the channel. Ciao.